name is Josh, and I am a software developer and instructor. And so today is going to be over Let versus Var, and I'll show you guys what that is. So let me bring up my Visual Studio Code here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new file here. Let's say let versus var.js. All right. And so what let versus var is let and var are both ways that you can declare a variable in JavaScript, and let is the newer ES6 way to declare variables. And let was created to be less error prone. The way that they are different in scope is in a concept called hoisting. And so guys, really pay attention to the word hoisting, because it's it can sometimes pop up in interviews. So hoisting. And so basically what a scope is what is in between these brackets, these curly brackets. It could be a function, it could be a for loop, it could be an if statement, but whatever is in between these curly brackets is a scope. And inherently in a JavaScript file, there's an outer scope, and basically you can pretend that there are these brackets on the outer scope, but it's already implied automatically. So let me show you an example of the let versus var. So what we can do is we can go ahead and do something like this. We can declare a function, and in this function we'll have two console logs and a variable. So this is, I'm gonna go ahead and name this let versus var. Okay, so I have a function let versus var, and on line 7 we have it printing out t, and on line 8 we have it being assigned, t being assigned, and on line 9 it also prints out t. And so what I want to show you is when we run this, so right here, of course, we have our var t equals 4, and I'm gonna go ahead and open a terminal and run this code. Okay, let versus var. Okay, let me spell it correctly here. So it's gonna be let versus var. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and run it there. Nothing happened because I have to actually go ahead and call the function here. So to call the function, I can just copy this and call it right there, and then I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to go ahead and run it. And so as you can see, on this run we got undefined and 4. So it ran, but it did notice that it did not give us an error message. And so watch this. When I change it to let, then I go ahead and save that, and then I go ahead and run that, and then boom, I get an error. It says cannot access T before initialization. So when you declare let, it does not let t be accessed before it. So what I was saying before about hoisting is basically inherently var. When you have var, it hoists. And what hoisting means is when the JavaScript is run, it automatically interprets something with the variables. It's called hoisting, and what that is it declares all the variables that it sees at the top, but you cannot see this in your code because it does this when it is run. So essentially it does this. So it does var t equals, or I'm sorry, it will declare var t up there, and so when it's ran, it will look at line 9, and then it will be like, okay, so the programmer declared the t on line 9, so let's go ahead and hoist it at the beginning of the function or at the beginning of the scope. So remember, the scope is anything inside the brackets. So it will do this in any scope. So in this case, this scope is this let var function, which is at the top, which will be, it will hoist this up here. So there will be an imaginary declaration of this. So that is why when we access t before we declare it here, that's why it actually works. But var t does not equal anything. Since var t does not equal anything, that means it is undefined. So, um, so let me do this. So I declared var t up here for real. So I save it, and then I'm going to go ahead and run it. And boom, undefined. So remember our actual example where we declared var here, and we console logged it, and we can comment this out, and of course we can see again here that when you run it, it will be undefined 4. So basically, when you change this to let, it will not hoist the variables at the top of the function. It will, you can only access the variable after it has been declared, and everything after line 9 related to t will be valid. But if you try to access t before line 9, before it is declared, it will not let you. So the developers of JavaScript, they decided that this is a safer way to declare variables, whereas var is more error prone because the scope can really get confusing when you have several lines of code, and the var is being hoisted, and you intend to use a variable a certain way, but something unexpected happens, and so let just kind of cleans up that confusion. And let is pretty much the ES6 standard that people use today. So I hope that makes sense. So that is hoisting. Remember hoisting? That's actually often a interview question. And also, I want to show you guys one more crazy thing that you can do in JavaScript, which I was surprised. So, for instance, you don't even have to declare the variable with var or let, and you can just say t equals 4, and you can go ahead and still not get an error there, which some languages do not allow you to do this. You have to declare it with something like var let, and other language there's things called like int, string, but here you don't even have to declare it, and you still can access it. So I I would say this is not best practice to not declare it. JavaScript is kind of not very strict in some ways like that, but best practice is I would say use the ES6 let for your basic variables, and you will not go wrong, and you'll be doing the latest standards. All right, well, that's what I wanted to show you guys today, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.